Welcome to Podkey Wellness, where today it's mindset, closure, and a practical hormone health roundup. A lot of feeling stuck comes down to two things: gripping the past too hard, or waiting for change without really stepping into it. And on the body side, some of the same logic shows up there too. Small inputs, repeated over time, shape outcomes more than people think. One of the clearest ideas here is that constant comparison to a golden version of the past can quietly wreck the present. If every new chapter gets measured against high school, college, an old city, or an old relationship, you're not really meeting what's in front of you. You're arguing with reality. That grip on the past can feel comforting, but it keeps you emotionally attached to something that's over. And when you finally loosen that grip, it can feel like grief, because it is grief. The useful move isn't chasing the old life back. It's asking what actually made that period good. Was it structure? Friends nearby? Being active? Feeling needed? Having a role? Those are clues you can rebuild in a new form. The other big theme is energy. When people feel low, they often physically shrink. Arms crossed, staying in, saying no, pulling back. That posture can reinforce the whole story that life is closing in. The counter is not magical positive thinking. It's behavior. Accept the invite, join the group, text first, show up again. Small repeated actions create social momentum, and that's usually how connection actually gets built. There's also a tough but useful point about partial commitment. If you keep one foot out the door, skip often, hold on to escape routes, or keep proving something won't work, you never really learn whether the situation had a chance. Sometimes the escape route is emotional, especially after a breakup. Full no contact, when both people agree, repeated attempts aren't working, can be the thing that finally creates closure. If some line stays open, it divides your investment. Part of you is still living in the backup plan, which makes it much harder to build a new chapter. A simple checklist came out of this, and honestly it's useful because it cuts through a lot of fog. First, am I comparing the present to the past? Second, is my energy shrinking or expansive? Third, am I giving this a real 100%? And fourth, have I actually changed my behavior? Or is it time to change the situation itself? That last part matters. Not every problem is solved by adjusting your attitude. But a lot of situations do become clearer once you stop judging them non-stop, stop withholding effort, and start acting like you're actually there. And if you've done that honestly, then leaving may be the right answer. At least now it's a clean decision, instead of a half-lived one. There's a nice companion idea here about luck. Research framed luck less like random magic and more like exposure. If you want friendships, work opportunities, or just a better chance of something good happening, you have to put yourself where those things can occur. Events, introductions, acquaintances, follow-ups, saying yes more often. That's true, emotionally too. Treating a chapter as an experience instead of the sole source of your happiness can change the whole feel of it, even before anything external changes. On the physiology side, a big recurring player is SHBG, sex hormone-binding globulin. It binds testosterone, so when SHBG runs higher, the free testosterone available to tissues tends to run lower. That's why total testosterone doesn't tell the whole story. Free levels matter too, and during developmental windows that gets especially important. A few inputs were highlighted here. Vitamin D deficiency tends to track with lower testosterone, and correcting it can help the whole picture, including SHBG dynamics. Boron, around 5 to 12 milligrams a day, can acutely lower SHBG and raise free testosterone. IGF-1 matters too, especially earlier in life. Dairy intake is associated with higher total and free IGF-1, and that supports bone growth, tissue development, and building peak bone density before roughly the mid-20s. The gut microbiome got a lot of attention, and for good reason. Prebiotic fiber helps seed beneficial microbes and may influence a long-term set point for hormone metabolism, immunity, and even brain-related outcomes, especially in the 20s and 30s. L-carnitine is more complicated. Oral absorption is low, so effective dosing often lands in the 1 to 5 gram range. But some gut microbes can convert it into TMAO, which has been linked to cardiovascular risk in less healthy microbiome states. Garlic compounds like allicin may help inhibit that conversion, and berberine may modestly reduce TMAO by reshaping the microbiome, though berberine can come with side effects like headaches or low blood sugar. Energy balance matters as well. In overweight people, a modest calorie deficit often improves testosterone by lowering fat-driven estrogen and helping free testosterone. In lean people, aggressive cutting can do the opposite by raising SHBG and suppressing IGF-1. Exercise was framed pretty simply. Train hard a few times a week, but don't turn every session into a 2-hour grind. Shorter high-intensity workouts tend to support hormones better than pushing long enough to drift into chronic catabolic territory. A few targeted supplements came up. Creatine can modestly raise testosterone and also push more conversion toward DHT, which matters mostly if you're genetically prone to male pattern hair loss. The increase appears physiological, not some huge outlier. Tonkat Ali showed activity in the roughly 300 to 1200 milligram range, with results depending heavily on proper standardization. Fadoja may raise LH at around 300 milligrams a day in human data, but rodent toxicity signals mean caution still makes sense. For men dealing with hair concerns, topical caffeine and ketoconazole may offer mild non-systemic support. Topical finasteride can lower systemic DHT somewhat while limiting exposure compared with oral use. And topical dutasteride appears to have very little systemic absorption. Testosterone replacement itself was presented as something that can help, but only with careful monitoring. Physiologic weekly dosing is often around 100 to 120 milligrams of cypionate or enanthate, usually split into 2 or 3 injections to smooth out highs and lows. And it's not casual. You're watching for acne, mood changes, lipids, ferritin, hair effects, and other risks. Clomiphene can raise LH and testosterone by blocking estrogen feedback, but it has limits, including visual side effects, and it generally isn't framed as a long-term optimization tool. 2 quick practical notes rounded this out. Alcohol raises aromatase, so more testosterone gets converted to estradiol. Keeping intake moderate helps limit that hormonal drag. And low-dose daily tadalafil, in the 2.5 to 5 milligram range, may support prostate blood flow and androgen signaling, with higher daily dosing sometimes helping nocturia, which matters because better sleep supports growth hormone and testosterone release. If there's a common thread today, it's that closure, consistency, and the right kind of exposure matter a lot more than dramatic overhauls. Thanks for spending a little time with Podkey Wellness. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.